But don't get it wrong. Really, this is something a whole lot of people try to undermine or get it wrong. I can tell you straight out that China, under no circumstance right now, the way I say it, China does not have any intention of attacking Taiwan, of invading Taiwan, of doing any military damage to Taiwan. It does not have that ambition. It's not in their plan at all. Get that straight to you. Understand that right now. Okay? All this is just theater of, PR. All these military displays and all this, these are all theater. They're all acting as if they're about to invade, and you see America, propagating it, gingering it, hoping that it happens, okay, trying to encourage it, just the way they created and encouraged Putin to attack, attack Ukraine. Okay, now China is not going to do that. China is way smarter. It's way too smart to do that. Why? Because they're not feeling threatened at all. It's not like Russia's situation where Russia is being surrounded. The whole the Scandinavian countries are all against it. The Baltic states in Europe are all against it. So it's just alone with all this land. Huge landmass, is almost half of it is surrounded by enemies, and the only buffer zone it has is Ukraine and Georgia. You get that? That's why America is persistent to go closer and take those areas into its own armpit. Okay, and then they can just overnight just surround Russia. Overnight they can just overwhelm them, paralyze their military. And Russia, Putin being as smart, as intelligent as he is, already know that, seen that, long time ago. And that's why I have to do this. And that's one of the reasons that Chinese leader, Xi Jinping, understand that. He knows that. And that's why it's even tolerating that, like, not fully supporting Putin in the war, but coming as a peacemaker as well. Okay? Because there are a whole lot of things that are not in the open that people don't know. But you must understand that as the war is going on, you see what's going on. You see that Russia on a daily basis, burns about 60,000, 20,000, 40,000, ammunitions, in missiles in this war. That's a lot on a daily basis. Okay, now these ammunitions, come on, how much workforce does Russia have? Even I know they're working 24/7, day and night, producing and all that. You just reason it. What's the population of Russia? How much workforce they have prior to the war. So some of these weapons is coming from somewhere. Okay, I can straight out tell you that most of these ammunitions are already coming from China. In the most discreet way. There was a report of a big shipyard loaded with these ammunitions, missiles from China, capsided in the sea of, of Siberia. Okay, that is, I'm sure American intelligence already get all that, but that, report is kind of like, has some kind of legitimacy. You're not going to hear that up in the open in the media because they will not be able to really have a means to verify that. But yeah, some of these weapons, these ammunitions and small missiles, those ones are actually coming from China, and they're still getting from Iran, and they're still getting from North Korea. These are covered operations to get this, and that's how they are able to keep up. The same way, but in the Western world, America is supplying Ukraine all in the open. Okay, so that people talk about that, but the ones that are not in the open, supplied discreetly, you're not going to know so much about that. That's what's going on. Okay, so that's why Russia is not, have not gone out of ammunitions. Why the West is running a whole lot of propaganda, creating fear and panic to the Russian people, to other people, that Russia will be out of weapons, this, and that's why it's not happening. So again, China will never attack Taiwan. That's his baby. Taiwan is Chinese baby. It's not gonna damage, kill his baby. Nah, it's not gonna do that. The same way they quietly, diplomatically, smartly tamed Hong Kong, is the same way China is going to use to tame Taiwan. These people are very patient, and they plan decades ahead. They don't plan like on a yearly basis, decades ahead. So they already know all this, what's going to happen. Taiwan will get tired. There's going to be change of government. Even if the current party, ruling party, retains office in the next election, they're still going to be patient, and they're going to wait for the next election. That's a subsequent one, until they get someone in power that it will be pro-China, that they will actually support to get into that office. That's how the game is going to play out. China is not going to invade Taiwan. It's not going to go and damage, destroy its own property. Come on. If it's going to invade Taiwan, the damage will be so much, and they're going to lose so much economically, financially, a whole lot. People, their citizens will die. They're going to lose a whole lot from the cheap factory, cheap supply, and then they're still going to have the animosity and the the world condemnation, especially from the Western countries. Okay, even some African countries will not be happy with that. So they're not going to go and damage all they've been working for these past few decades, building alliances, building all these allies, all these economic routes, the BRI, Belt and Road initiatives they started, all the stans countries, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and Afghanistan. So he may lose some of those countries if he tries to invade Taiwan. Okay, so it's not going to do that. So that is not explained. So now let's forge ahead. Let's assume that China is going to, now want to flog its own Taiwan. And now you keep hearing America will do that, come and defend. They cannot. How? I said it before. How? What? Because they have military bases in Japan and in South Korea and in the island of Guam, and they're not going to do what? Go through the same, Sea of Japan, come to South China Sea, and come and fight China in its own domain, in its own territory. You see what they're going through right now with Russia. Russia is fighting Ukraine in its own territory. Russia owns that area. The whole Black Sea and all that. That's his stuff. So all his defense system covers those areas. Covers like more than 1,000%. So anything that is seen as aggressive coming from the West or NATO, cross any of that, get close, will go down. And if the ship comes to the shove, it will send something back to where that thing came from. So these countries, they are thinking twice before really stepping on tiger's toes. Okay? It is very, very dangerous. And they know. That's why they just, at the moment, just yappy, talking, creating panic and fear and all that, and increase their budget and supply and all that, make their money and all that. Now you hear NATO and America saying they're going to buff up the NATO countries' boundaries with Russia. They're going to mobilize about 300,000 troops around Russia, so that if Russia go extreme on Ukraine, they will march into the war. They forget that even if they do that, Russia is not going to fight them right there. It's going to start sending gifts to their hometown. So who's going to defend their hometown, their home country? Okay? It's not going to waste his 1.5 million soldiers to start fighting all NATO forces on the border. No, it's not going to do that. And so NATO is not going to even try to, commit suicide. Because if they do that, that's a third party entering the war directly. And of course, China will be obliged to come in. You get what I'm saying? So it's not going to happen. So let's forget that.